It all began in February of 1972 when Richard Nixon became the first sitting U.S. president to visit the People's Republic of China. You can see him here trying out some chopsticks on his visit. He was greeted by Chairman Mao Zedong and visited not just Beijing but also Hangzhou and Shanghai. There, both sides signed the first of 3 communiques that still provide the framework for relations between the two countries. In 1975, President Gerald Ford made a 5-day trip to China, meeting with Mao as well as Deng Xiaoping. You can see the two men here having a little break, President Ford smoking his pipe. The U.S. restated its commitment to the Shanghai Communique on that trip. President Jimmy Carter did not visit China, though he did host Deng Xiaoping in Washington, D.C. In 1979, Carter signed the second communique, formally establishing diplomatic relations with China. Carter later called it one of the most correct decisions he made as president. The third communique was signed by President Ronald Reagan, who later traveled to China in 1984 and visited the famed Terracotta Warriors in Xi'an and the Great Wall, as well as visiting Shanghai. President George H.W. Bush visited in 1989, 1 month after his inauguration, waving to people here in Tiananmen Square, as you can see. Bush reaffirmed the U.S. commitment to the One China policy on that trip. President Bill Clinton visited 5 Chinese cities in 1998 and met with then-President Jiang Zemin. Making a speech at Peking University, students flocked throughout the campus to get a glimpse of the U.S. president making that speech. President George W. Bush visited China 4 times, more than any other U.S. president. He visited the Great Wall in 2002, and he even stopped at the Olympics, which were held in Beijing in the summer of 2008. President Barack Obama visited 3 times, including the 2014 APEC meeting in Beijing. It was at this meeting that the U.S. and China announced an ambitious plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, paving the way for the Paris Climate Accord. And of course, now President Donald Trump marked 1 year since his election with a visit to Beijing. Much has changed in the world since Richard Nixon's visit to China more than 45 years ago. But the relationship between these two countries remains vital, not just to the U.S. and China, but to the entire world. Jim Spellman, CGTN.